Alright, hello everybody, this is Espionic.
Navigation Power 4, still waiting for Kirby Planet Roller.
Okay. So, Nintendo had an earnings conference recently. Stuff was announced.
The internet crashed, just died.
Well, that clearly didn't happen, but people were kind of upset. And I kind of understand why, but let's just talk about the stuff that they announced. Let's start with the thing that's the least controversial, which is that... Well, actually, I just want to point out that, like, most of the stuff that they talked about was regarding the Nintendo NX. And this is my very first video talking about it, because there have been, like, thousands of rumors, and I just didn't want to do a video about, you know, stupid crap. So, I decided to just wait until Nintendo actually said something about it. But before we get to that, let's talk about how Nintendo announced that Fire Emblem and Animal Crossing will be making its way to mobile devices in some sort of way. Both of them feel like franchises that could fit very well on mobile, because Animal Crossing, it's like a fun, sort of more casual game. There's a lot of fun, quirky things you can do with that, and Fire Emblem is a turn-based game, so I think that's sort of easy to do on a phone.
Well, you kind of see it where they're testing the waters. I think something like Happy Home Designer you can put on a phone. Yeah,
you probably could, but they actually did mention a few things about it when compared to Miitomo, is that essentially these are going to have more prominent game elements actually into it, and like for Fire Emblem, they want to make it, they want to offer great value as a role-playing strategy game. That's what they said in their press release with all this news. So it's kind of interesting that these are, outside of Pokemon, these are the two first franchises that essentially Nintendo was putting on mobile, and Animal Crossing makes sense. It's a big franchise. With Fire Emblem, it's, if there's any indication that Fire Emblem has really grown as a franchise, if it wasn't for how well Awakening sold, how many Fire Emblem characters there are in Smash Brothers, and how well Fire Emblem Fates has sold. Fire Emblem Fates has already sold almost 2 million copies, actually. That was part of their earnings conference, actually. If it wasn't all that convinced you that it's now like a major franchise for Nintendo, then the fact that it among other franchises that they probably could have done some sort of thing with on mobile, Fire Emblem is going to be one of the first ones. Like they have that over Mario or Kirby, and by Mario and Kirby I don't mean like mainstream like game. I mean something that's more suitable for mobile. But the fact that Fire Emblem has that over like franchises that are been more long established to be bigger franchises than it is kind of amazing. In fact, Kimishima actually mentioned that they now consider Fire Emblem to be a major IP for them.
And it's a fake that wasn't gonna do. They were just gonna leave it to exclusively put it in Japan if Fire Emblem Awakening didn't sell well.
Yeah, and it did sell well, and Fates has sold really well. It's the best-selling game in the series. I love how he said that this is the least controversial thing, because there are people who are kind of upset and worried about how this is going to turn out, but
there's still gonna be Fire Emblem games on the 3DS. Or any other system Nintendo.
Yeah, it's not like these games are not going to exist on dedicated gaming devices anymore.
Alright.
like if they can like Animal Crossing, we know is like a major franchise for Nintendo, and now that they consider Fire Emblem to be one, it's like why would they just abandon it? It's not like
what they're gonna do, what Konami did with most of their games.
Oh god! I think I heard that these games, these two apps specifically, would be coming out sometime this year, which makes sense.
You think those? Never mind. I don't think they show them at E3.
Well, there's a lot of things that we aren't sure about for E3s, but we'll get to that a little later. So, in regards to the NX, Nintendo has officially announced that it's going to be launching in March 2017.
Ready to improve your sex life.
Oh god. I don't want to get into the rules, I really don't, but March 2017, it's just a really interesting time to launch a home console. Interestingly enough, though, Nintendo has launched handhelds at that time. Like, I know the Game Boy Advance and the 3DS were launched in March. That's one of the things. That's why some people are thinking, hey, maybe this is just a really powerful handheld, or maybe this just led to one of the big theories with the NX being that it's handheld home console hybrid of some sort, and maybe, I don't know. I have a hard time believing that it's just a handheld, just because, like, why would you go out of your way to do what you're doing with Zelda just to put it on a handheld? I mean,
I don't think any handheld has gotten that powerful to do a game that big, a big a game as Zelda that was meant for a home console.
But what if it is actually a hybrid?
That'd be awesome, because most of the time I just play handheld games. I played handhelds more often than I played consoles. Not to say that console games are bad, I just played handheld games more because they're a little easier to pick up and put down or play anywhere.
But you don't think it's just a handheld, though?
No, I don't think it's just that.
Yeah, I don't think so either. So, something else that Nintendo announced that a lot of people thought was going to happen is that The Legend of Zelda for Wii U is also coming to NX, and that game has been delayed until 2017. I saw, I think, some sort of press site for Nintendo that said that game is coming out in March 2017, so it might end up being a launch title for the NX, which definitely would be a really good launch title. My general thoughts on it is, like, people were saying this would happen. I kind of figured it really depended on when the NX was going to launch, I think.
Alright, I was thinking that too. Eventually, it was only a matter of time. If they weren't going to say anything about Zelda, it's because this is what they did with Twilight Princess. Like, Twilight Princess, I think, was shown like an E3. You said
2004,
which is around the GameCube.
Yeah, it was meant for the GameCube.
But like 2006, 7. When does the Wii version of Twilight Princess come out?
Both versions came out in 2006.
Okay. So, if I'm thinking at this time, a lot of people were thinking, and I was eventually like, it's probably going to be put on the NX too. They did it for the Wii, so NX is next.
Well, I think a lot of people, the reason why there was a lot of debate about that is because, a lot of people weren't entirely sure. There was debate on whether or not this was a console or a handheld. There was a lot of debate on whether it would come out 2016 or 2017, and it was like, I really couldn't think about, like, I really couldn't think about what exactly would happen, because there's still so little that we know about the NX, and it's just like, Well, I don't know. If it is a console, which it very well could be, I think a lot of things indicate that it is. But if it was a console, then, and if it was going to come out like this year, then yeah, that was definitely going to happen. And it's kind of weird. I was thinking that it probably wouldn't come out this year. And the fact that it's coming out early next year, I think, kind of is sort of... I guess it's sort of a compromise. So the idea, like, yeah, it's coming out next year, but early next year. And a lot of people are still upset about this because apparently, like, the only thing that could ever define a Nintendo console, specifically the Wii U, is that it has its own original Zelda game, and it's like... I don't know. There have been consoles that haven't had certain games. I know Zelda is like one of Nintendo's like biggest franchises, but
I think a Zelda game, the Legend of Zelda series, I think has been on almost every console.
A main entry has been on every console and every handheld, which is kind of funny because not even Mario has that distinction because there's no main Mario. There's no main Mario game on
the Game Boy Advance.
And even technically the Game Boy, because apparently the Mario Land games aren't part of the main series. But yeah, it's kind of funny because
like people always say, "What about the Mario Advance game?" No, those are all remakes.
Yeah, those are just
all
remakes.
4 of those games are remakes.
It's like certain franchises just say out on certain consoles. That's just kind of the way it has been. I mean, there was no Metroid on the N64. There wasn't really any. There was no main Kirby game on the GameCube. There was no Star Fox on the Wii. It's like it's just kind of a thing that happens.
And there's no F-Zero on the Wii either.
Yeah, it's kind of to me. It's just kind of a thing that happens. I mean, for me personally, the Wii U doesn't have to be it wasn't for me. I mean, I love the Zelda franchise, but Zelda Wii U wasn't going to be the definitive thing for me. It isn't, honestly, because for me, the Wii U has a ton of great games on there. In my personal opinion, it has the best Mario game ever made. That's Super Mario 3D World, and that's a very close second for Donkey Kong Country. Like, it's right up there with Donkey Kong Country 2. I think Tropical Freeze is right up there. It has the best Mario Kart game. It has the best Smash Brothers game. It has the best Yoshi game. It has an HD remake of my favorite Zelda game, being Wind Waker specifically. It has an HD remake of my third favorite Zelda game. It has the best Zelda spin-off ever made. I know the bar was set kind of low with that, but Bayonetta 2 is a really great game. It's like there are a lot of great things to me that define the console in terms of its games, and to me, like, there's so much great about it that, like, Zelda Wii U not being an exclusive thing to that, to me, doesn't really hurt what the Wii U already is for me.
There's like people were saying that apparently they're like, what they say.
I mean, I can kind of understand that the fact that people are upset that this was delayed specifically to have it as a launch title for the NX, but it's not like it's not coming to the Wii U. It still is.
Yeah, it still is. There are people who act like it's not being put on the Wii U. Like, no, it still is. And let's face it, there's people who probably, even with all those games out there, still didn't pick it up. So why should they buy it for the Wii U when the NX? If they didn't buy Zelda for the Wii U when they didn't buy it for anything else, they might as well just get it for the NX.
I get it. It's been delayed a lot. I mean, even for Zelda game standards, it's been a lot. But is it the most delayed game of all time? No, not even close, actually. I mean, what about, like, The Last Guardian?
I seen that in a magazine while I was still in school.
It's still in high school.
I think it was high school.
High school or middle school? Oh my god. Yeah. What about Duke Nukem Forever? It's like... those...
That thing took forever. And even when you got it, it was a disappointment.
So... yeah, I get why people are upset about that, but to me, it really isn't a big deal. The one other thing that might be a bigger deal for people is that Nintendo announced that for this year's E3, the Legend of Zelda game that's coming up, the Wii U version specifically, will be... I heard that at first it was going to be the only playable Wii U game, but now I'm hearing it's going to be literally the only playable game that they have at E3. And that there's going to be nothing on the NX at all at E3 this year, which is kind of like, what the crap?
Oh, right.
I mean, to be perfectly honest, I thought about the idea of like them not showing the NX, showing anything about the NX at E3, but that's if it launched like holiday 2017. Because it was launching holiday 2017, then yeah, they wouldn't need to show it this year, but but since it's launching in less than a year, so I don't know, all this news came so fast that it was like, I didn't process the idea of like, oh, it's coming out early 2017, and oh, it's not going to be shown at E3.
And now you just see that Zelda Wii U is the only thing. It's the only thing that's going to be playable on the show floor.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, The Legend of Zelda is a big franchise.
Yeah, but it's still just one game. I mean, what else? I mean, I'm thinking about the things that they most likely would show at E3. There's Zelda, there's Pokemon Sun and Moon. Both of those will be big games for Nintendo. Then you have, like, Tokyo Mirage Sessions, Sharp FA, which is coming out soon after E3. I know it's been out in Japan for a while, but they probably will show something of that. And there's Dragon Quest 7 and 8 that they'll probably... There's at least some stuff on the 3DS that they'll probably show. And the only other games I can think of are like Paper Mario Color Splash, Metroid Prime Federation Force, and like Sonic Boom Fire and Ice. And like all those games, those are all games that people have vendettas against.
Yeah.
So, like people are just like saying that like, man, you thought last year was rough. Which last year I honestly thought was average.
Last year's E3, I would say, I actually liked it. I would say I liked last year's E3 because I'm going to be that guy to say it'd be very, very hard to top your last year when your last
2014.
Year. It's hard to top 2014 when you have two president kung fu fights. Nothing was going to top that unless you had them fly at the Muppet Star Fox characters jumping R-Wings and fight Muppet androids. That's the only thing that probably would have topped it.
I mean, I have a hard time calling it. Like, if we went back like 5 years ago and we told people that Nintendo was going to have an E3 that had a new Star Fox game, a new Metroid game, and the localization of Mother 1, people would have lost their minds.
Yeah.
Or, in addition to that, like, Roy and Ryu were confirmed for Smash as well, so if we said all that, like, people would have, back then, that would have been considered to be a great E3, but...
Now, that was considered the worst E3.
Well, I don't think absolute worst. I've seen a lot of people say it wasn't their absolute worst, but a lot of people were pretty upset with that. To me, it was, like, average. I mean, for you literally couldn't hate it just because they showed Paper Jam. I think the one good thing about this is that, like, people have a horrible habit of going into Nintendo's E3 specifically expecting a whole lot, and if you're you should have an absolute all-time low expectations for this. Like,
if you still think after everything that was said and done, after they gave it to you straight, that where was my NX stuff? You are an idiot. You're an idiot.
It's like there's no reason for you to expect this to be really good at all. It could very well be their worst E3. It could not. Who really knows? But the expectations are they are at an all-time low. It's like all we really know about is like Zelda and Pokemon and Paper Mario and Federation Force, and that's about it. Aside from, they might have a few surprises, but it's like, don't be surprised if they don't happen. Who really knows? A lot of people were upset, but for me, it's like, I'm more intrigued than upset by this. I'm really interested to see what Nintendo's planning, because Nintendo always, like, they beat to their own drum. There's always a method to their madness. It may not always work, but a lot of the times you see them do something that seems crazy, and then looking back on it, you can see exactly why they did it. Right. And another thing that people have been talking about is, and I've seen a lot of people say this since like E3 2014 or 15, is that Nintendo seems to be stepping away from E3, kind of, that they don't see it as a venue that's super important anymore.
Because they can make their own. Let's face it, they control how everything is said. It can't be misconstrued or taken out of context, like that Splatoon thing that was taken out of context, the Kimishima thing that was taken out of context.
Yeah, a lot of what Nintendo says gets taken out of context. And E3 is becoming such a crowded venue, too. It's like, last year we had Bethesda and Square Enix who had conferences for some reason.
They're like, why was Square Enix there? Why did Square Enix need to be there when they're pretty much in Sony's pocket?
Yeah, like, everything you would want to see from them are probably going to be in Sony's conference.
Or like, Xbone, because Kingdom Hearts 3 is going to be on the Xbox One.
What Square Enix... I don't know if they're going this year or not. I really don't see why they won't.
Nobody liked their conference anyway.
I didn't get it last year either. It was like,
I don't think anyone liked their conference. Because
aside from Final Fantasy 15, Final Fantasy 7 Remake, and Kingdom Hearts 3, what else could they show beyond that would really get people excited?
Because, like, if you're a third party, if you have no games, you're a third party company. Why are you there? Your game.
I can understand showing off your games there, like having like playable games there, but like, why do you need a conference? Especially since Sony and Microsoft and maybe even Nintendo might be showing off their games there. It's like, why? I think a lot of people are thinking that Nintendo really wants, when they show off the NX, they really want all eyes to be on the NX. They don't want to have to compete with the attention of everyone else, and I think that's actually a good thing. I mean, they might end up showing it off, I don't know, maybe September at the earliest, October, November. I'm thinking one of those 3 months. I get why a lot of people are upset, but I think the thing that people forget about or don't even really realize is that Nintendo, they're in an extremely transitional period right now. They're starting to place attention onto the mobile market. They're working on theme park attractions. They might be working on movies, TV shows, anime. Their previous president, died not even a year ago, and I think that really shook up a lot of things that they wanted to do. And I think the transformation that Nintendo's making, it's going to take a while. It may not, and I think it will turn out to be an amazing thing. It's just going to take a while. I mean, I don't even think, like, when the NX launches, you're not going to really see all of what Nintendo has in store. It's going to take a while. And, yeah, waiting for that to happen is going to be rough, but
it'll be, but I'm willing to bet it's going to be amazing to see when all the pieces are in place.
Yeah, exactly. So overall, all of this news, I think people are being very dramatic. It's like, yeah, I can understand being upset, like, right now, but, like, I think in the long term, all of this is not going to be an issue. By the time the NX comes rolling around, it might not even matter. So, I think that's all we have to say for all this insane news. So, yeah, this has been Espionic.
And this is Yoshi-Pro 4.
Still waiting for Kirby Planet Robobot. Yeah, I saw that coming a mile away. We'll see you all next time. Yes, lie. We'll see you all next time.
No, you have to use doubt.
Then how come I said it at the same time as you?
Yeah.